Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 30th, 2022 at approximately 12:04 p.m. PST. Time to get to work, I do believe. Things are complicated in today's world, but first things first, bearing in mind that this is an even day, really think we should get you and get started doing things. So here's what we're going to do. First and foremost, before I get started with this, I return to this world for one primary reason: to pass on a simple message to virtually everybody in existence. Now, it's going to require the assistance of all of you, okay, or of as many of you as possible, because one person is not going to change the tide that society is traveling on. Now, today's going to be a hectic day for me. I've gotten started late anyway. Okay, but one of the biggest things to gain this world running right is to get your own life running properly. So as soon as I get done this video, I'm starting to work on a few projects, and I'm laying them out while I'm talking to you. In this way, I can actually get them dealt with. Now let's see if I can see what I'm looking for. There it is. Now, the tools I talk about are literally the same tools I personally use. Okay, so this is one of them. And that's always useful. What I'm dragging things out of here is, this is that neat little travel bag of mine. That little thing there, that's all it is. I go to the restaurant to write, and that's where it is. Now, today, okay, the real catch to getting your life running in the right order is deciding, first of all, are you content with the way your life is right this moment? If not, these are simply the tools I personally put to use and I've shared with literally hundreds of people. Well, actually, literally thousands. To be a little more specific, when I started doing this professionally, as in generating an income, I started it when I was only 23. Okay, I'm now 59. And because of the fact that I happen to be a professional procrastinator, okay, I have put things off and not push the issue. Well, the only way to change that is for me to push the issue. It's the same with you. If you've been putting things off, if you, like myself, have been procrastinating, okay, the only way to break that is to buckle down and do it. Now, while I was going through some old projects, found an interesting document that I wrote, specifically October 25th, 1993, at 2 p.m. or at 2 a.m. Okay, PST. Now, the reason I know it was in 93 it was PST is because in 93 I was still living in Kelowna. I still am, for that matter. But I've talked to you many times about this funny little thing called a list. Okay, now I don't expect you to be able to read it because I didn't leave it there long enough. But right now, I am working on the journey. Okay, i.e., I'm recording this right now live. And the thing is, when I talk about it live, this means when I get done, I simply check the date and then post it as is. Okay, so that's the second thing that'll happen. Now, the reason I dug this book out is because this is the book I do my hard copy writing. Okay, for the Return to Paradise. Got a bunch in here. So the next thing I'll be working on is copying the hard copy to soft copy. Okay, now that's three things on my list that I'm keeping. I strongly recommend on this list, put 3 things down to start with. Obviously, you're putting 1 down to start with, but put down 3 back to back. Okay, as soon as you keep them to 15 minutes to a half hour in length. The reason for it is that you can get them checked off You can get on with something more, and you'll feel by the end of the day that you actually got something accomplished. Now, right now, because of the fact that I know that when I get done this video, I'm going to have to add a third item. Because I won't stop this video until I've finished it, which will be about a half hour down the road. So once I'm done that, I've got to get my horoscopes written. Okay, and get them submitted. That's another contract I work on. And the funny thing about horoscopes is there's a reason that there's a saying where it comes to reading your horoscope in the newspaper. Okay, and the saying goes, if you don't like your horoscope, check out another paper. Well, the reason for that is because the people that write them are working on such a mass scale, as in about 7.6 billion people right now, that inherently you have to talk in broad terms. So what they seem to do, and I've talked to a lot of astrological writers, that what they do is they pick a couple of planets or a couple of aspects of the sign, and they work with those. Okay, usually that's why it's listed as your sun sign. But here's the thing. In your sun sign, if you're not content, if it doesn't seem to match, okay, take a look at where your moon is, take a look at your Mars and your Neptune. All of these have a direct impact on how your day is going to go. And sometimes one will work better than the other. Okay, and thereby, if you read one that doesn't seem to add up, check another newspaper, check another website. Now, I'm in the process of redesigning, of reworking the not the calculations, so much as which planets are involved. And there is a very definitive reason for that. Okay, I found some rather intriguing flaws. I call them flaws because they're inconsistencies. So that's what the next part of my day is going to be looking like. Okay, now when we're talking about your house and getting things running, okay, I've got to make certain that I've got things running. You've got to make certain, not just me, in order to get your house running. Okay, you've got to have the material world running in a smooth fashion. This means get the energy moving where it should be. Okay, for me, that's very simple. Okay, I keep my coffee handy over there. Neat part about it with me, and this is where you could run into an interesting snag. Whether you believe you can straighten your life out and get where you desire to get, or whether you believe you cannot. Either way, you'll ultimately prove you're right. Now, there are extenuating circumstances. If for the most part, and you really have to use logic. For me, when I first had the stroke 3 years ago, my left arm, I couldn't use it much at all. Now I can actually get a hold of my coffee. For me, that's a real important factor. But I found by putting my coffee over where I had to use my left arm, or more to the point, where it would eventually be more convenient, it accelerated the healing. Okay. So I've got my coffee over there, I've got my notes here, and this is one of the things that I'm also working on. Because my left hand does not have the coordination I'd like it to, it really is time to start making certain that I make my notes with my left hand. Now, I used to write much better with my left. When I had the stroke, it shut the thing down. Now it's going to be a case of working it. But the only way that's going to happen is if I actually do it. Unknown caller. Yeah, not overly interesting. See, thing with me is this, and this is why I say, if you look at the list below this video, you'll find all sorts of ways of getting a hold of me. The reality is, where it comes to a phone call, if I don't know who you are, the odds of my picking up the phone are slim to non-existent. That'll stop a man. Just like that. Now watch, they'll phone back. Anyway, I don't answer phone calls that I don't know who's on the other end of the line. And the reason for that is because from my standpoint, if you're trying to hide your name from me, I don't care who you are. Okay. And yeah, I am very unilateral on this. It doesn't matter if you're an individual, a business, it doesn't matter. If it's unknown, the odds are I'm not answering. It's a flip of the coin. Heavily weighted towards not. As you saw there, the phone rang, I looked at it and went, unknown caller, not dealing with it. Because I've been told so many times, I've taken so many scam calls, that I'm just not interested in them anymore. Okay. Now, one of the big issues I've got to deal with here is I've got to get the office sorted out. I've got to get my painting station cleared off again. And yes, it takes a little bit more, it takes a lot more concentration for me to write with my left hand right now. But that will come up if, and this is the thing with anything that you're having trouble with. Many times it will take a lot of effort to get it working right. But once it's working right, my brother used to tell my mom, and both of them have since passed away. But my older brother was phenomenal with computers. And I'm sure you've heard something to this effect before. He used to tell my mother, computers are easy. And Mom would get frustrated, and then, Kim would end up doing it for him. My dad and my brother would end up doing it for her. And Mom would get really frustrated. I turned around and I looked at Mom one day and I went, Mom, he is right. Computers are very easy once you get a handle on them. Okay, prior to that, they're a pain in the neck. This is one of the reasons why I haven't done well with marketing. Okay, because marketing is something that I'm not really good at and I'm having to teach myself. But here's the thing. Probably like you. Okay, you hit something that you're not really comfortable doing, or you're really not what you consider good at, and you may well do the same thing that I've been doing. Put it aside. Okay, I'll come back to it when I get the easy thing done. And that's great, except for one small little catch. Until you get up and do it, it's going to remain complicated. Okay, so from your end, and from my end for that matter, and in all fairness, I think the way this is turning out, that this particular issue of the journey or episode of the journey or whatever you want to call it, okay, seems to be more an issue of my reminding myself and you in the process that if we're going to make this world a better place, we have to get up and do something. Now, if you don't know how to do it well, okay, if you're aiming to do something that you're not familiar with, talk to somebody that knows. Talk to somebody that's done it properly and done it successfully themselves first. Okay. Now, in my case, I will spot a flaw in things that doesn't add up, and I get hung up on it, which is a bad thing in my case. Okay. I had somebody send me a contract, or not send me a contract, but send me a reminder of a contract that the two of us had signed ages back. Okay. Now, here's the thing with a contract. If you're signing a contract, be certain, understand, unless you put an expiry date on said contract, and I'm not a contract negotiator. Okay. I'm not trained in it at all. But it's my firm belief, unless you put an expiry date or a time limit on said contract, it is a contract that you should follow through with. Okay, now the one that I got handed in particular, okay, they disappeared off the map and it went into hiding. The only thing I know for certain about the item in question is that I didn't throw it out. But at this point, I have to find the thing again. So one of the things that I do have to do when I get done this video, like I'm building a small list here. But like I said, I'm using my left hand because the only way I'm going to get it running properly again is if I actually start working with it. Same with you. Now I had a client that had a really, really messed up leg. And they were favoring, well, in all fairness, they messed up both of their legs. And I shouldn't really call them a client because, frankly, as it was, they were the daughter of a friend of mine. Okay, and they ended up in a wheelchair. Well, everybody had said, "You're done. You can't walk." And then they came and talked to me. Well, we managed to get them up and walking properly, or at least reasonably. Now, how they're doing recently, I don't know. I haven't spoken to them in probably 5 years. But the thing is, whether you believe you can overcome an obstacle or you believe you can't, either way, you're pretty much certain you're going to manage it. Okay, you're going to manage to prove yourself right. In my case, I am absolutely certain. Will I get my left hand working? Absolutely. Will I get this turned into volume 3 of the volume 12 really, but the third part of trilogy of the Yldrbac Chronicles? Absolutely. I'm hoping that this particular piece of information, I'm hoping this particular piece is something that I can connect with the person with. It was an intriguing situation. But I've opened the door and we'll see where it goes. Okay, something else I was thinking about. Because what makes your house run is knowing who you are, knowing what you desire, where you came from. Okay, and this can be really complicated sometimes. Okay, but I'll be looking into that as well. So, of course, you get these little projects written down and out of the way. Okay, marked down so you know what you're aiming for. Of course, in my case, I have a tendency of not having quite enough desk room. So there we go. Move that out of the way. And move that out of the way. And now I can get this up so I can actually see what it is I'm working with. Now, if I pull that open, yeah, I've got a spare monitor over here beside me. Very important little factor. Now, what is... That's only one, okay. Oh, okay. Now, I'm trying to do too many things at once, I think. Well, quite frankly, I am. That's pretty obvious. Oh, and this one I'm going to do right now, because I'm very happy with this. This little item here. Usually for me, getting a plant to grow has not worked. Oh, this one definitely needs water. Okay, when I got this, when I was given this, there were 11 leaves on it. And it's about to have, well, it's got 21 including buds. I've got to give it some water today, but the reason I moved it was because of the fact that the wind was blowing too much and the blind was going to knock it over. So, in this case, put it back where it belongs, and I'll get the water to it in a minute. It's funny. I used to have a plant, of something called a croton. Now, plants are the best air purifiers in existence that I'm aware of. They are not man-made. Okay. They are definitively not man-made from anything I've seen. Sure, people have modified them, they've spliced them, what have you. But as far as an air purifier goes, plants are a very beneficial thing to add to your house. In my case, I have a problem with them. I have a tendency of killing them off. Don't know why, don't know how, but this one seems to be starting to thrive. Okay. So, I've already got my office, for the most part, sorted out. I've got a number of things I'm working on right now. And as you saw, phone call doesn't really interest me too much. Okay, but the reason for that is I don't like wasting my time on phone calls of people telling me, oh, by the way, your SIN number has been canceled. Okay. I had a email come from somebody that claimed to be from Costco. And whenever I get an email, even if it's from a business, before I open the thing, I look at the address it came from. If it's not coming from the company it said it's supposed to be, then the odds are I'm not opening it at all. Okay. But when people are trying to get a hold of me, there's a whole list of ways you can get a hold of me. But if you don't tell me who you are, the odds of my looking at it are pretty limited. Okay, the odds of my answering emails, answering, Skype messages and what have you, if I don't know who the person is, the odds are I'm not going to answer it to start with. Okay, and I'm certainly not going to give a whole pile of information. Also, most of the information I talk about, because it is information I get asked often, more often than not, most of it you can find in books that I've written. This one in particular is the backbone of how I got my life turned around, how I took it from being always behind in my bills, from, being always behind in getting anything accomplished, to actually starting to make headway. That is literally, the booklet is called Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. Because the person that really has to believe you're capable is you. Where it comes to my getting my life in order, I had to come to the conclusion that I don't have to fit in with what everybody else is doing. I simply have to be able, more to the point, people don't have to accept the way I'm doing things. I simply had to accept the fact that they were working, that I was worth putting the effort into. Okay, so now what I'm doing, I've got these little tasks sorted out. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to make certain, because, it is up. Okay, that's for the horoscopes. What is that? That is not what I need. So what I've got to do is just call one of these up so I can actually open the one that I really require, which is, we take a look at pinned, and of course can't see with those particular glasses. Where are we? Book 12, that's the one. Whoa. Well, that's not pleasant. Apparently that book had that particular file has been moved, which means I'm going to have to track it down. But so be it. That'll have to wait until after I'm done. Okay. Now, the nice part about it is I know where it likely got moved to, but here's the thing. Whatever you're up to, get a list together of what you desire to get done. Okay. Only when you put three things down to start with. Now, I'm just about done here as far as the journey goes. Yeah, it's gone around in circles and what have you. Well, yeah, of course, these glasses really don't work well. See, I've got two sets of glasses now. This one is actually my glasses for driving. If something's not working, there are ways to get around it. And yes, we use tools and what have you to make things easier. But I will tell you, in my opinion, the real key to making society work is for the people of society, myself, you, everybody out there, working with the idea in mind of making this a better world for all of us, for virtually all of us. Now, certainly there are going to be some that are not content. Okay, obviously, when we take a look at the brass tacks of it, society has taken a very twisted turn right now, but it's one it's gone down before. Way back, roughly 1700 years ago, because as I've mentioned before, I do remember past lives. I don't need other people to tell me I do anymore. It's not a requirement. I've had enough of them confirmed by other people pointing them out. And I mean, I'm not talking about going to some of these past life regressionists. I'm talking about people that were absolutely run-of-the-mill normal people, just all of a sudden coming out and going, I remember seeing you back at this time. Okay. In a different country, in a different life. Okay. I remember you from here, and this is what you were doing. Now, I've had lots of cases of that. 1700 years ago, the people of the Roman Empire became very disconcerted with the way things were going. The government was treating them poorly and they were treating the common people, general population, poorly, taxing the daylights out of them, and treating all of their friends that were sitting in positions of power as real decent people, giving them all kinds of breaks. Problem that led to was the Roman society collapsed. And here's the funny thing. Okay, and I'm not talking about. I'm not telling you to take my word for it. I'm telling you do the research that you can. I didn't research. I simply remember. Okay, so don't necessarily take my word for it. Do your own research. But the one thing they don't tell you when society started to collapse was that the banks during the Roman Empire, the financial backers, pulled their money. They pulled their support. Now that in and of itself caused a cataclysmic collapse. Okay, because the people that had money or thought they had money had no longer had the financial access they were at. So when society went into a depression, the people hit hardest were the ones that had the majority of the money to start with. Okay, they were the ones that had the problem. Now, even the bankers, when they pulled their money, when they pulled their support, created a cataclysmic problem for themselves. Because when they pulled that support, all of a sudden, their money dried up as well. And this is why I say when I found out about this gentleman in the Middle East somewhere that's talking about we don't require people anymore, we've got robots to do everything. It's a cute thought, but what happens to your life if all humans are wiped out? To get your house working properly, you've got to be aware that you're all interconnected. Now, I will be back again tomorrow, but until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.